Hi, Sean.
Sandra, hi, how are you?
I'm fine. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Sandra.
You know what I'm going to do today so I don't make a mistake? I'm not going to put a box around either of us. So we're not going to be able to overtalk each other. Okay, you and I have been talking before the show today, and um, we're sitting here having our coffee or our drink, and one of the things that we decided about was laughing.
We did.
Yeah, and
And actually, I'm being very formal, aren't I, for some reason?
yeah, you're being
Get
way
rid of the
too
formal.
formal.
Sure, right, have a slurp of the unformal happy juice. Bear with me. Right, the formality, the Brit formalities go on. We're sorted. Right, sorry, Sandra. Head in gear
Okay,
now.
I brought up the fact that children laugh over 300 times a day and adults
Yeah.
5 times. It's
Yes.
right. I mean, what a percentage. I mean, we're talking about direct male response here somehow. What's wrong with that? Okay, that being said, um, what is it about a child that allows them to feel free enough to laugh at things, but an adult, we don't feel free enough to laugh? You put us in front of a camera, you put us in front of an audience, you put us in front of our peers or something, and it's not allowed. What happened? What happened between that point and today to cause us to stop laughing? I mean, do you laugh? I asked somebody last night, I said, how often do you laugh a day? Do you laugh 5 times or more? And they sat there and they thought about it and said, well, I think I do. I said, well, the fact that you don't even know tells us something, doesn't it?
Yeah. What do you think it is, then, Sandra? Why do we not?
Well, geez. Sean, I think about a little baby that's born, and up until the time it's about um, between 4 and 6 weeks old, it doesn't smile.
Mm.
And we do everything to wait for that moment that that little baby makes that first hint of a smile. And then at 6 weeks, it kind of giggles for the first time. And oh my gosh, we're so excited because that kiddo has giggled. And then I think about, wow, do we encourage, are we training people then? Are we training the human sector to smile and laugh and giggle? Do we have to be trained to do that? Is it innate in nature? I'm not sure on that one quite because I haven't read any reports on it, and I don't know that I'd really believe that they were accurate. How would you know? But
Mm.
then, we're encouraging that child to laugh all the time after that. We tickle their feet, we tickle their sides, and we make funny faces. We hide from them, and
Mhm.
every time then that they laugh out loud, they get a reward. And then all of a sudden they start going into the peer groups in school and structure, and we're told, shh, no, not now.
Mm.
Have we done that to ourselves to train us that it's not acceptable? I mean, you and I, right before the show, you talked about the movie, oh, what was it? Shoot, where they had the laughing on the in the hospitals.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this on a previous show, and I know it's an area that we might want to get into, where both you and I have had discussions about the healing elements of laughter and the scientific evidence for endorphins and all sorts of really good chemicals that are released into the bloodstream that not only make us feel good in the moment, but actually have a beneficial effect on the whole physiology. And that's really, really good. And the absence of those can have a detrimental effect. But to address your point, I think a lot of it is about consequences and fear, isn't it? And as a young kid, my environment is my safe home and mom, and it doesn't matter so much if a bit of cookie dough falls onto the floor and I laugh and giggle at it. But if I drop something in the school classroom, I might incur the wrath of the teacher and the disapproval of my peers. And then as I get into adulthood, if I have humour that's considered to be out of place for that circumstance, then I may be projecting consequences. I may not be because we don't all walk around with sober faces 24/7, do we? But I think for me it's more about fear and consequences as we get older. Do you think that's a reasonable thing, or do you disagree with that?
I don't know that I disagree or that I really know the answer to it. I think probably you're pretty right on, because most of the time we don't do things because we're afraid that we're going to be reprimanded. I mean, that's what keeps us from doing a lot of things as
Mm.
adults, don't you think, Sean? And so if you look at a child who has been just laughing and laughing and rewarded for that, and then all of a sudden they're rewarded the opposite for it, there's a conflict there, and it's like, what, as you get into business, you get into adulthood, you can't sit at work and laugh. People will think that you're crazy, and they'll probably call somebody if you're doing it too often. Think about what we're doing even here. I mean, how often do we see people when they're talking one to another in a public environment laughing and enjoying themselves? Usually it's a professional doesn't do that. So it's a fear of being rejected for the status then maybe. Like sometimes you and I giggle and giggle and giggle and laugh. Probably I giggle more than you do, but but when I see a smile and a laugh coming from you, I feel so much better. And not that I don't feel good when you're not doing that, but it kind of eliminates the need to be on guard. So,
Yeah. Sorry, I've talked over you. My apologies.
No, it's okay.
I was just about to laugh.
You can talk over me.
I was about to laugh uncontrollably for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, there's a couple of things. I suspect there's elements of comfort, aren't there? So as you get to know people, whether it be at work or at home or friends or relationships, your need to create this barrier around yourself and protect your image diminishes a little bit. So humor tends to come over time with people you're more comfortable with. And also, we did speak privately, didn't we, about context in terms of occupation. If I was going for surgery and I walked into the offices of my future surgeon who was about to conduct a heart operation on me in 2 weeks' time, and he burst into, in fact, I was going to use the word inappropriate, which is interesting in itself because it means that I've made a judgment here, doesn't it? But if that person laughed uncontrollably, it may not fill me with the most confidence in the world. I might think they're an idiot and run, which might be a shame because they could be the best surgeon in the world and actually they could be really, really happy people. But context's a thing, comfort's another thing for me. And then there's this sense of what image are we trying to purvey to the world? You know, I'm a high fledged lawyer that spent 7 years in the training and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get where I am. I want to be seen as a serious and sober member of society. Maybe. I don't know. It's a bit sad.
Something that you and I probably, I don't, what are your thoughts? You know, my feeling is, Sean, we know that laughter is good for us. I mean, doctors tell you that, psychologists tell you that, you know, studies tell you that. And society in general, in the educated sectors of the world, tend to be on more psychotropic drugs than ever before to make themselves feel better. And I've noticed that when I have friends that are taking antidepressants, they tend to laugh a lot more than they ever did before they took the pills, and they're happier people. Why do we have to take a pill to make us be happy and laugh? I guess my feeling on that is, boy, where have we missed the boat on that one? And something that you hit on just briefly, we didn't have time to talk about it, but explain to me a little bit more, you know, how you and I were talking about when somebody isn't laughing a lot and they're not happy, that maybe there's no color in their life. What was that that you put that with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can replicate the way I thought about it when it occurred to me previously, but sad to say, I've got some family members that have a very different outlook on life to me. And without being judgmental, because I'm not saying that my way is right and theirs is wrong, it's not that simple. but I get the sense that there's an absence of colour in the way they look at the world. But that's just my personal label, for want of a better way of putting it. And it's because they tend to see things in the. I know I'm putting a lot of my assumptions and beliefs in here, but this particular person tends to see things in a very literal and very factual way. And while there's nothing wrong with that, there's a certain. I've got to be really careful because I don't want to start putting labels on other people's behaviour, because the danger there is I'm making a judgment. But I do know that this person doesn't find joy in some of the things that you and I might find joy in. And they are sad and they feel an absence that they can't explain. And yet when I observe their behaviour, certain things that are quite funny, certain behaviours of young children around them that we might smile at, they find an irritant, which saddens me. I haven't put that very well. I haven't put that as well as I might have done previously, but.
Well, I think that for me, gosh, it was like when we were talking about that just briefly, it really clicked in my brain. It's really true. When we're not laughing, things do seem darker. And then when a bunch of people do start laughing and enjoying being around or whatever, it's like, think about it. You know, we associate laughter and silliness with a clown. You know, the big nose and everything. And look at the colors of a clown, their face and everything. It's all colorful. You don't see a black and white clown.
No.
They don't come out very often in black and white stripes. They're very colorful, and maybe there is a subtle reason that has happened over, you know, the lifetime of laughter and happiness and people feeling good.
I'm about to laugh uncontrollably because I've just got a pop-up on Google Plus that shouldn't be there. So, I mean, I've noticed, and I know we've spoken about the comment tracker. I've noticed that Dave's in the audience and Kerry's in the audience, and the reason I mentioned no, I'm not.
No, I have to tell you, they're not in the audience. They're in the table next to us because we're sitting in a cafe.
and this is the point where I'd fall on my sword and laugh uncontrollably as I realise that I need another coffee. And in the cafe next to us with Kerry and Dave being uncharacteristically quiet.
Let's ask the waiter to give them a cup of coffee on us.
We will do. Yeah, I should imagine that knowing what Dave does and knowing that Kerry's involved with audiences as well, they'd probably be inclined to say that learning is often done much more easily and more comfortably when you're in a happy environment. And why do I bring that up? Some of the biggest seminars I've been to as an adult, or some of the most happy times at school in a classroom, have been when either the teacher, educator in the classroom, or the person at that seminar has created an environment that isn't all laughter, because it's not just one thing. You've got the education, you've got the content, but it's a convivial, enjoyable atmosphere, and the information just goes in, doesn't it? And I guess the other thing that we haven't touched on, there's the healing elements of laughter. There's the beneficial elements to self-esteem and the feel-good factors. There's also the simple fact that we function better in a happy environment. Think of dreadful relationships, awful marriages where it's permanently rowing and arguments, or think of unhappy childhoods where, you know, God forbid any of us have had any. Let's hope we haven't. But where families are totally fractured, there is no joy, there is no laughter. I'm not saying laughter is the only factor, far from it, but it is something that binds us together, doesn't it? And when we laugh, we let barriers down. We show something of ourselves, and that tends to be very, very engaging. And I've started laughing at something I've seen but I'm not going to say just yet.
Oh, it's okay. I think Dave brought out a good point. He said he was going to sit down with his gin and tonic next to us and enjoy the conversation. Now he says that he's laughing partially because he's probably drinking his gin and tonic. And oh, Sean!
Oh my gosh, what's that? Oh no!
Okay, that's our 5-minute warning. And you know what? You and I are going to include our guests at the table next to us and address some of their comments. Carrie did say, "Can you laugh to yourself though and not out loud?"
I do all the time, Carrie. All the time. I'm laughing now.
I can't do that real well, Carrie. If I start laughing, it comes out through my lips pretty quickly, and then everybody around me knows that I'm laughing. And it's really hard when I'm at a seminar or a conference or something, and somebody says something funny. Everybody sits there with a stone face, and I'm the one that's kind of giggling underneath.
Yeah, that brings back memories.
And then Dave says, the more that you laugh and enjoy and take part, the more you learn. Wow, that's cool. So, Sean, did we learn anything in these short minutes?
I used to quite like Dave, but obviously Dave and Kerry have run up a little bit of something on our drinks bill at the moment, so they're busy laughing while they're getting the extra gin and tonics, so I'm no longer laughing. No, actually, do you know what? I mean, it's a funny little thing. We've only got 20 minutes on these shows, and it seems a quirky thing to talk about. But maybe, well, there's no maybe about it. There have been so many studies done on the healing powers of laughter that although it sounds crazy, and my background, 25 years in the pharmaceutical industry, and there's an awful lot of medicines that I think are vital for humanity, and I'm a big fan of the industry, although it gets slated. But the simple fact is, if we had a bit more joy in our lives every day, I should imagine 60 or 70% of medications that my good old industry creates, researches and sells, would not be needed, at least to the same degree. And when you think of the burden in terms of cost and people's well-being, that's what started off as quite a gentle little show. That's quite a staggering statistic, isn't it? If you imagine if we could save all that money and people would feel really good and physiologically be better, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? So that's kind of my little fly the flag for laughter today. I've had to start laughing, haven't I?
I'm sitting here giggling and to myself, but it's definitely coming out because Dave said that he and Carrie are now on the third round of drinks that they have added to our bill. Yeah. And I'm laughing about that, thinking, well, there'd be a normal side that says, hey, wait a minute, who told you you could do that? And we're sitting here and already we're feeling better about laughing and saying, hey, it's just 3 drinks, who cares? Have a couple of more, or, have a sandwich on us too at this point because we're feeling good about ourselves.
Exactly.
Isn't that what laughter does? Isn't that what being happy does? It makes us more happy about being around people, sharing, and oh my gosh, we could go on and on about that one, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. There's so many things and so many ways we could take this. I just know, I guess all of us here around this table, including the 2 that have just fallen under the table through excess consumption of G&T, could probably reflect on the happiest evenings or days that they've ever spent. And for me, I think of parties. I think of great parties I've been to, surrounded by great friends when there's been a lot of hilarity. And you know what? I'd have had to pay millions of dollars to feel that good if I'd have had to take a prescription medication, and in fact, a prescription medication wouldn't do it anyway. So there's something basic and primal, and you made a very good point, Sandra, when you said, I paraphrase your words, we open up, we trust more, we let people in. There's something very special about that, and it's infectious, and we feel good, and our bodies feel good, and we relax, and there's so many benefits. So again, I come back to this thing that it's a maybe a little subject, but it's got broad implications, hasn't it?
Really does. Okay, guys, I'm going to read this as a last thing, and it says a good example is to see how an adult, and thank you, Dave Moore, for bringing this up. A good example, see how an adult and a child negotiate a large puddle. By the time the adult has walked around it, the child has jumped in it and splashed everyone while they laughed. And isn't that really true? I think that, when you and I are done here, Sean, I'm going to figure out a way to go get some water and splash somebody and see how they react. It's going to be somebody I know, though. Don't worry. and then, as my last parting thing, it says, Carrie Wilden says, okay, Dave Moore, who pays the tip? You know what, Sean? I'm putting the tip on you. You get to pay the tip today. So, Sean, one quick word. You have 3 seconds.
Can't do it in 3. Just remember to laugh. That's 5. 4.
Okay, 20 and gone.